by one of its promoters, Professor and Senate Majority Leader Kindiki-Kithure. Karibu.
Thank you.
So, Professor, whose brainchild is the Jubilee Alliance Party of Kenya?
The Jubilee Alliance Party of Kenya is a brainchild of the Jubilee Alliance coalition. And the thinking is that going forward, it will help us as a coalition and also as a country if we have one party as opposed to a coalition of parties with sometimes competing interests, because our agenda is to formalize the unity of the diversity that is represented in the various parties that constitute the Jubilee coalition.
Was the idea of competition becoming destructive to the Jubilee coalition? Because there have been murmurs at one time. TNA was trying to reach out to, let me call it Maasai Land, and URP claimed that to be its territory. We have seen recently in Trans Nzoia, where an associate of Jubilee, New Food Kenya, was facing off with URP in a county in a ward contest. Was it being realized that this thing is causing friction within the coalition?
Well, in a coalition, let me just say it's an imperfect condition.
A coalition is
anywhere in the world, yeah, because it's like a polygamous home. Yes. You expect lots of friction, and politically speaking, there are those who would take advantage of the many constituent parties just to advance small agendas. You know, somebody as a party that has support in 1 county, 2 counties, 5 counties, and wants to perpetuate that sectarian agenda at the expense of the broader agenda. Remember, when the Jubilee Alliance the Jubilee Coalition was established, it was on the basis of consolidating national unity. By forming one party, where the constituent parties collapse into one party, we are moving towards a broader party politics system, and we are moving towards a more united Kenya. And we are hoping really that even other players in the political field will follow suit, so that
God will take you, will follow.
I heard them mention.
Yes.
And in fact, I have overheard they have even reserved the name CORD as a party. And for me, I think that is a great thing. That's what Kenyans want to see. They want to see 3, at most 4 parties competing along certain policy issues, as opposed to 100 political parties. Some of them are owned by a family, others by a clan, others by a county. So we are moving towards stabilizing.
Somebody would doubt
democracy.
That the 2 coalitions actually, as they exist today, represent an approximation to national unity at all, because clearly, Jubilee is a majority of 2 communities. On the other hand, is a banding of a little more than 2 communities, but principally 3 communities that are together in CORD. If you strengthen those 2 blocks, would you be saying you're actually achieving national unity, or in fact creating the divide further?
That's not true. What your analysis is not true, because I can tell you, for Jubilee, you'll find very many communities. Maybe the president and the deputy president could come from 2 communities, but we have like the entire pastoralist communities, yes. The Maasais, the Somalis, the Borana, a bit of Borana. We have so many other communities who are in Jubilee, but I think there's a tendency in this country for people just to look at the president and maybe the deputy. So it is not true to argue that if you consolidate the constituent parties of Jubilee, that you are bringing on board only 2 communities.
In fact, to go worse than that, yes. those two parties are strong in a particular part of the country. No. If we proceeded to consolidate that as a political party, and you just reinforcing the ethnic politicization of the,
it's the other way around, because
the political ethnicization.
our interest is to see,
yes.
Our interest is to see UDF, for example, which is an affiliate of Jubilee, and that you know very well it has support in counties in Western Kenya. Our interest is to see the Bas Party, which is only found in Meru and a bit of Embu, you know, and others, Federal Party of Kenya. All these parties, many of them really are coming from certain parts of the country.
Yes.
And it's not good to look just at TNA and URP. They are the big brothers in the coalition, but we are encouraging even the smaller siblings to come on board.
Yeah.
And what I'm saying is that if we have what Jubilee has done taking place, and it should take place, if we have a similar phenomena within CORD, then we will be moving towards national-wide parties. Because even the CORD, as you've rightly put it, their strong areas is Nyanza, a bit of Western.
You're going to say, you know, let's face it. The fact is that CORD is a Western Kenya sort of strong party.
Yes.
And Jubilee is more of a Mount Kenya Rift Valley region strongholds.
Not quite.
Principally.
Not
the
quite,
others are feelers, you know, wale wa kujaza debe. But those are the principal areas where these parties are founded solidly.
Not really.
Now, I mean, let's take it for granted. I mean, most of the best for ODM is Western, really. And you add on Food Kenya, also Western. So we basically have a Western Kenya flank, and then we'd have a Rift Valley and Central Kenya flank. The rest will be improvised to fill in the two principal affiliations. Now, how, in your view, does that achieve national unity if it does not fortress them in the separate ways they are?
Let's take the example of CORD.
Yes.
CORD is strong in Nyanza, in Western Kenya, in Ukambani, and in the coast, going by the results of the last election.
That's right.
Now, but you will see that CORD is strong in Nyanza through ODM, not as CORD, through ODM.
Yes.
CORD is strong in Ukambani through Wiper. CORD is strong in Western through Ford Kenya. So if they formed one party, the leader of that party could come from anywhere, from any of those blocks or even from outside.
Yes.
It means, therefore, you are promoting a party which has almost in a wider area, but it's one party.
That's right.
As opposed to everyone bringing his community, his tribe, his clan, and then pretending that you are united. Yet at the spark of any small problem, people retreat into their cocoons. I'll give you an example. You've heard in the past, even in the media, people trying to create a wedge between TNA and URP. If something happens, they start asking, is that on the side of URP or is that on the side of TNA?
They don't create
No. So what you are saying,
and
the kind of complaints you are hearing, David, is because there are people who will run out of business if with what is happening. With because now you have only one party. You cannot start talking about the TNA side, the URP side, and there are people who are actually thriving in trying to create a wedge between the two, talking as URP, as TNA, as so we are moving towards nationalizing
the parties,
our parties. And I'll still insist, for us Jubilee, actually it's not just two communities. Maybe in terms of numbers, there are more numbers in Central and Rift Valley, but our idea is to ensure that everybody who is a member of Jubilee, wherever they come from, can actually say we are in this party and it's one party. So if you are a member, you are from Mandera, you are a Somali from Mandera, you are a member of a Jubilee, not through URP or TNA, but as a direct member.
Yeah. Now, there's always the counter-argument to that. Consolidation and having two strong parties has its pros and cons. There are those who say that it's good to have two strong or three or so parties that are national in terms of representation and reach. But that is only a safeguard for democracy if those parties are indeed democratic in their practice, in their structures, in their election processes, if they're democratic, because everybody then feels accommodated. But have we reached that point where parties are democratic and people can survive in there and not feel that they're being choked, strangled by dictatorial tendencies, which then makes necessary the other argument that you need to have many parties so that people can have their freedom of choice.
You know, I agree. For a very long time, political party democracy has been a very huge challenge. And I think going forward, I see hope. I see Kenya moving to the direction of democratization of parties. And I can give the example of our own party, the Jubilee Coalition. We have decided, for example, in the oncoming
TNA, not Jubilee Coalition.
It's a party, according to the Political Parties Act, is either a single party or a coalition of parties working together.
Yes.
And that's why, for example, those who are talking about people forming other parties are mistaken legally, because technically the Conservative Party, which now has changed its name to JAP, is actually or was a member of the Jubilee Coalition. And the law allows a constituent party or a member of a constituent party to promote the interest of another constituent party. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong, for example, with a URP member campaigning for a TNA member, or a Ford Kenya member campaigning for a Wiper member.
Now, that's where the technicality comes in. When did the Conservative Party, which has now converted into the Jubilee Alliance Party, become a member of the Jubilee Coalition?
There's no record. There is record. There is record. I don't know whether you've
because the
talked to
political
the
parties
registrar of political parties. Yeah.
That are such a party joining a coalition
must deposit of course, with the
agreement
with the registrar
at least 3 months in advance of an election or a general election.
The Conservative Party has been part of the Jubilee Coalition for the longest time possible.
That is the position. Political
no. That is the position. That is the position. But you can't be short. When I was explaining, for example, what we are trying to do in Kajiado.
Yes.
We do not intend, as Jubilee, to actually oversee the nomination process, because we have learned through our past experience, but also even the experience of other people, including our friends in CORD, the kind of shambolic nominations that are happening. And sometimes it is actually outside the control of any individual person. It's just that the system is crafted in such a way that it's open for manipulation and bias. So we've decided for Kajiado, we'll just ask the IEBC to go and conduct those primaries.
For you?
We have 7 candidates or so. Let them compete fairly. Let's get results. Once we get a candidate, that's when the party machinery will move in to make sure that our candidate wins the Kajiado Central seat. But we don't want to participate in the primaries, because again, some of the candidates could have friends who are in the party leadership, and that might create
now, you know, the problem here, Kindiki, is that this is a continuation of the same culture, undemocratic culture, you know, in the formation of this new alliance. Because where were the consultations? You can see this, you know, the disquiet this announcement has caused. There is a dissent that is being voiced vocally by people who should know, members of parliament, even officials of parties that are supposed to be part of Jubilee.
No, David.
Is there any consultation? In fact, hearkening to just what I said, there's no democracy happening.
No, David, you know, out of the people who are complaining, there are 3 categories.
Yes.
One is a category that will run out of business if there is one party, because they wanted to use the multiplicity of parties, constituent parties, to do small agenda. That is the one section that is complaining.
Yes. Okay.
The second section that is complaining is a section of genuine party members who would want to make sure that everything is done right. And for those ones, their comments are welcome, and their process is ongoing. We even have a retreat later this week to try and hear their views, especially considering that no decision has been taken technically.
Yeah.
We have not wound up TNA. We have not wound up URP. So nobody has been asked to move from the party under which they were elected. And nobody has been forced later on to join Jubilee Alliance party. What we have done is a statement of intent that going forward in the next election, we don't want the kind of experience we had last time. So it's a statement of intent. Nobody is being coerced to migrate. If people feel that they are very comfortable and they want to remain in TNA, even after JAP is formed, through party structures, they can retain the identity of TNA. But what we have done is to notify our members what we intend to do. And members are free, therefore, to say this is good, this is not good. That is democratic. Nobody has been intimidated for airing their views. But then we should not confuse that genuine concern by party members with a few people who are...
Let's say this. So what level of consultations happened? Or how was this decision reached? Because it looks like
you see,
it was again the same...
You see, the party here that changed its name is not TNA, it's not URP, it's not Jubilee Coalition. It is the Conservative Party of Kenya.
Yeah.
That is the party which transformed itself. Yeah. So if, for example, you were transforming TNA or URP, but then you would expect exactly. So it's the Conservative Party.
Yes. But
so within the Conservative Party, the question should be whether there were consultations within that party. And there were.
But okay, additional to that, and really a corollary to that is that there are people who are in TNA and URP who are not even comfortable with being compelled or required to support the Conservative Party, for example, candidate. That is why people are saying, but we are being shoved in a direction about which
nobody is compelled to support. What I said earlier is that within a coalition, parties can support each other without breaking the Political Parties Act.
Yes. So,
but if a party retains its right to refuse, for example, if TNA wants to field a candidate against URP, that could as well be right. Okay, if the coalition. If the coalition agreement has not specifically said that whenever we have an election, we'll field one candidate. So you could have a URP, and it happened in the last election.
Which, of course, is the position. The coalition agreement does not say that.
It doesn't.
Yes.
So nobody is being compelled to support the Jubilee Alliance Party. People, if they feel, for example, in...
so members in TNA or URP who may be desirous of having TNA or URP nominate its own candidate.
Yes. If it's a decision made within the structures of political party, not individual members deciding that they want to run.
Yes,
or that
and that is where the problem is. Were structures of the party engaged in this decision? Because then when was the consultation? That is for the decision not to field candidates and to back a particular...
for Kajiado?
Yes.
That's so partly why we have the retreat. This thing is a thing that has happened in the last 2 weeks or so.
Right.
That's why we have the retreat. It was even supposed to be there last week, but because of logistics, it wasn't possible.
Yeah.
And really, let's not complicate. It's a very small, a very simple matter. Yeah. It's a statement of intent. Nobody is being compelled to leave a party.
Yeah. Can stay within it.
If Uhuru and Ruto decide to move to JAP, and there are other of our members who want to stay with URP or TNA and run those parties independent of JAP.
Yeah, because
that's democratic.
The idea on the table is not a merger of the parties. It is that there is a party called Conservative Party, which has changed the name to Jubilee Alliance Party of Kenya.
Yes, and we intend...
you all intend to join.
We intend to collapse TNA, so to wind up TNA URP into and join one party called JAP. Yeah, and that's why I'm saying nothing has happened.
Right.
So people who are talking about consultations are jumping the gun.
Yeah.
Because when that time comes and they want to frustrate that process, then they can democratically try and disagree, etc. etc.
Now, what do you say of the people who say, look, this is the old politics. Political parties are formed as vehicles for elections. No ideology, nothing, no foundations, is in fact, for establishing democracy at all. And this trend seems to be what you're perpetuating.
That's not true, because
we look at before 2002, there was NAC, it died. Rainbow Coalition, it died. PNU was born, ODM was born, went into 2007, died after that. 2013, we had TNA, Jubilee Coalition, we had Code Coalition. Now the Jubilee Coalition is basically the TNA and URP parties, and are being again wound up. Vehicles for the next election being created.
Not really.
When shall we have parties that grow and outlast 2-3 elections?
We believe that one way of shortening the route towards ideology-based party politics is by having a broad-based parties as opposed to sectarian parties. Let me give you an example. It's very difficult for especially one party like JAP to promote an ethnic agenda. Why? Because you have members in Northeastern, you have members in Rift Valley, you have members in Coast, and therefore it's very difficult to pursue a narrow agenda, as opposed to other parties. I don't want to name any particular party, but there are certain parties where actually beyond a certain ethnicity, there isn't much support. So for us, having those national-wide parties is a step forward. Number two, I actually don't believe that our parties are not run by ideology. It's only that we have not refined or tried to see these elements of ideology. If you look at the last election, there was a major ideological clash between the questions of national sovereignty and careful engagement with international, the rest of the international community, and a liberal approach where, anything goes and anything foreign is good, anything Kenyan is bad. That was what
is
moved.
That clear?
Yeah, precisely. It was actually, the last election was simply about that. You just need to review the political activities of 2013, because we in Jubilee believe in a Kenya that is a proud member of the international society, and I use the word society deliberately because we don't believe there is an international community. The community is homogeneous. Yes. The international society is heterogeneous. Yes. And that respect must always remain. We are Kenyans, we are Africans, and we have our civilization. It may not be the best, but it must be respected, and we must engage from that start point. Now, our competitors believe that Kenya is the worst country in the world. Nothing is good in Kenya. We need everything foreign IBC, foreign police commissioner.
This is not on record.
No. I'm just.
That seems too
no, but generally, that is the ideology. That is the ideology.
I'm not sure
and
that
there
is
are
true,
people
but
here in leadership who are proudly marketing everything foreign carelessly and shamelessly.
Yeah.
So it's not true, really, David, to say that we don't have ideology in Kenya.
The matter of ideology has always been contested in Kenyan politics, because if it was ideology, then you would not have all these diverse individuals being in this party. The next time they're in that party, next time you will have Uhuru together with Raila in 2007.
I agree.
And then they are apart in 2013.
I agree.
So that's why the whole argument about ideology seems to be a little difficult.
In fact, I agree with you. The next phase now, I want to agree with you that there are elements of ideology. They may not come out as clearly as we want to see. But going forward, we want to see people committed consistently to a certain cause. There is a bit of, I agree, there is a bit of
you see
hypocrisy.
Of this and that,
one time somebody is marketing this.
Capitalists, and then you hear liberal, social party, things like that. But neither here nor there.
I agree completely.
Now, the idea of trying to create more better unified parties, again, raises the question of how do you graduate failure to a higher standard? Because these parties have not significantly established on the ground. Apart from mobilizing for an election, we cannot say parties in this country are grooming or have set up any structures, even of grooming membership, party programs to talk about. None in URP, if you ask me, none in TNA, and not to say there's any in CORD parties either. But, in this framework we're talking, How do you graduate to a bigger institution when you have failed at the smaller level?
I wouldn't say there is failure.
Or rather, there is now evidence of...
I would say that there's a bit of inertia among all our parties, unless when there is an election around the corner. And that's why, David, that's what we are trying to avoid. If you look at the transformation of NAC into PNU by Kibaki, it was done 3 months to an election. And part of the complications of 2007 arose from that fact. So we are saying 3 years before the next election, this is what we would want, this is the road we want to travel, so that people can use the next 3 years mobilizing and building towards that common purpose, and hopefully post the next general election, we are not going to have again a reverse where you say, let's also go back to our smaller parties. So we are hoping that this is a process that we can build on. I want to agree fully that political parties have been a disappointment in our democracy for a very long time. I am a firm believer that political parties should be active throughout the electoral cycle. It should be vibrant, should have, you know, I was even sharing with colleagues the other day, I was saying we even want to move to another level where, other than having a manifesto and a development program, we need a party that can market its flag, its anthem, is, you know, like CCM, like South African ANC, until you see party members who even put party flags and they even know
like
the anthem.
Kanu almost did.
Almost did it, but for the wrong reasons.
Yes, yes.
They did it, but for the wrong reasons. They were using that identity to oppress Kenyans. So if we can mobilize with a view of not only capturing power, but also pushing for an agenda that you think is right for the country. So
because none of these parties admissibly has any structures talking to
I agree fully.
In fact, you have not even held elections. So you can imagine a party that is less than 2.5 years.
Yes.
Metamorphosing into a bigger entity with another also, URP, which is the same age, no election, no experience in institutionalism. And you know, David, those are the challenges JAB is trying to address. Because even TNA, which is my party, it was formed how many months to the last election? Very few months. About six months to election. That's a very short period of time. So we are hoping going forward, that is how there must be stability around parties. And people can have a choice long enough. They should know it is going to be JAP and CORD as a party. But the moment everyone has a small party, then he calls a PG of 10 people, another one has a PG of 3 MCAs. By the time you convince people that really you believe in a united Kenya, it's a lot of work. Because the moment they see one of the so-called, you know, they call them principals in the other coalition. If one person is not there because they're having a headache, people start speculating. People from the ethnic cocoon start speculating our man has been sidelined. But because everybody is there because of the ethnic share that they bring there. So that's what we are trying to avoid. So in fact, thank you, because that's an admission that this whole move is to shut out some voices that are making noise in the back in the backyards of
making
TNA
the wrong noise.
And URP.
No.
For example, let's be practical. In Rift Valley, URP has been having a bit of challenges here and there. William, the deputy president, has been having a bit of challenges with the other Ruto, Isaac, the governor of Bomet. There's a bit of, ripples in the pool there. Over on TNA side, there's been quite a bit of discussion about the interim leadership of Sakaja, and we've seen Ole Sekuda trying to stage a coup, nipped in the bud, and so all these things are happening. Onyango Olode is sitting, on the edge as Secretary General. So I think the principals have decided it's time to take charge, and if we are not in this huge vehicle, you'll be crying out there like Keraiti Murungi trying to get on board with your bus.
David.
So this is a move to quell dissent.
Two things. One, you have talked about URP in Rift Valley.
Yes.
I don't think the deputy president is in competition politically with anybody in the Rift Valley. None of the people you have mentioned is a threat real or imagined, to the deputy president. And I am talking about William Ruto, the politician, not William Ruto, the deputy president.
Yes.
And I think when time comes,
his grip is firm on the ground.
He will show each of those people where they belong.
Right.
It's only that now, as deputy president, he has to moderate himself,
yes,
which is a good thing.
Yes.
Because again, you cannot
be brutal. And,
exactly. But William Ruto, the politician,
yes, is
no match to even all those people combined as one. That is for the record. I needed to clarify that. Having said that, let me say, it's not really about trying to stifle dissent.
Yeah.
The things that you hear about TNA elections, those are healthy discussions. And even the MPs who are mentioning about elections, I don't think they are doing so in bad faith. They are saying, oh, you know, we need election, we need an active parliamentary group, etc. Neither are the officials, you know, anyway, you know, in defending what they have been doing. I don't think there's anything wrong. What we are having there is a very healthy political party discourse. So long as it's done within the party, and nobody is threatening, you know, each other. But the truth is, there's it's normal.
Would you actually honestly say there is any political discourse going on within those parties? In fact, since they were formed and took office.
First, I say
because have I seen any top organs of TNA?
Not yet, and I gave you the reasons. Number one,
leader, nor even in URP presided over by William.
There is number one, the inertia, which is across the board.
Yes.
You know, and then number two is there has been a funding issue, a delay of funds. Many political parties could not do anything, and until recently, they didn't have even money to have an active secretariat.
Yes.
So those are some of the issues, and even as we talk about JAP, we had our own program in TNA of how we wanted to recruit members and do elections, etc. Subject to the discussions in the PG later this week. I think that is a process that should continue, because JAP is a vehicle for the future.
Yes.
And it's only relevant to those who want to, like now there's a by-election in Kajiado, we can test the party using Kajiado by-election. But in terms of active members of TNA, URP, it's a vehicle for the future. Nothing prevents us from you know, mobilizing, but I don't want to preempt the PG.
Yes.
And David, we are very democratic. Jubilee is very, very democratic.
Okay.
We
are yet to see a good party, democratic party in this country, I must say. Maybe you are promising.
Jubilee Alliance party is going to be the
forerunner. Even
the
with the false start,
and it's such a good idea. You've heard CORD now are saying, we also want to do it. And I think they had intended to do it, but they were afraid of the repercussions, the cocoons that constitute the party.
Well, there is no unanimous feeling in there. In fact, in reported today, they are saying, thank you, we are not interested in unity ourselves on the CORD side.
You see, that is, you know,
they say the diversity,
meaning the leadership in CORD may have good intentions of also having one party. But now the rank and file is opposing, and I think that is what was holding them back.
Yeah.
So what Jubilee has done, and we thank our leadership for this, is that they have taken the bold step of risking it, saying this is the way we want to go. It may have even repercussions, but it means that our party leader, deputy party leader, have decided this is the way to go.
Yeah.
So they have to do the hard work of carrying on board as many of their supporters and along that vision.
Yeah.
So Jubilee leads, others follow.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, there is a bit of support for you. I mean, if you are watching us, you can of course send in your views on 22422. Question to Professor Kindiki, who is the promoter of the Jubilee Alliance party that's been formed or is intended to be the vehicle for URP, TNA, and other members of the Jubilee Alliance going forward. Somebody says, thanks for the bold step. My advice and opinion is that be part and member of URP. Let's ensure UDF is not left behind. And UDF is already saying we have not been engaged.
It's part of engagement.
What is this engagement that says join us?
It's part of engagement because, as we speak, even TNA is intact. even URP is intact, and we have even people who are asking questions, just the same way some UDF people are asking questions.
Which raises the same question. Where was this decision made that even principals of political parties
The decision was made by the Conservative Party of Kenya, because it is the one which was transforming.
No, the decision by other parties to support or be part of the Conservative Party now, JAP.
That will be made
it's not
in future.
made.
That's what I've said. Yes, it will be. That decision will be made in future at the time of preparing for the next election.
Okay. Well, but so have you approached these parties? In fact, the smaller parties you are saying join us, or is it still using strong arm tactics?
No.
We're the big boys.
No, those are
join us or take a walk.
No, not really.
UDF,
not really.
New Food Kenya, the others.
You cannot do politics
you say,
like that.
In any case, UDF has responded this way. They have said that was Jubilee coalition, Jubilee Alliance. We are a coalition called Amani
with Kano.
Yes,
and they are making a point. They are making a point
UDF.
Because, you know, and you'll see even in the last election,
yes,
the first two parties to come on board were TNA and URP. These others came much later. NAC came later, just before election. UDF after the election. KANU after the election. The APK of Senator Kiraito after the election. So it's a normal process. It's just following the path that perhaps is a natural path. So there is nothing really extraordinary.
So how much a part of Jubilee Alliance are these parties?
They are very much, you know.
I mean, let's probe it.
How much a part are they?
How are they a part? Are there any engagements that happen, or this is just nominal on paper that you are members of Jubilee Alliance? Do you engage
we do.
New Food Kenya?
We
do you engage UDF?
When we do, for example, when we do our PGs, everybody is on board.
Elected members.
Even nominated.
Yes.
They are part of our PG. What other engagement?
There's no other inter-party engagement?
No, I mean, partly because of what I said earlier, that because of the funding and other things, many of our parties have not been active. We'd have expected. In fact, we had wanted to have a joint Jubilee, you know, an engagement among the secretariats of our various parties. But I think the funding issues and etc., I think that issue was overtaken by events.
So what is the plan going forward for JAP? Present the team as it is, Uhuru and Ruto as the ticket for 2017, and thereafter I've had mention of your name. Is this preparing a vehicle for yourself as well?
No. As in Jubilee,
this is new era. It's not the Kano days. You cannot express interest in power.
I know. And I'm not shy. I'm not shy also. If I need to say anything, I'll say it. But let me say this.
Yeah.
Our candidate for 2017 is Uhuru Kenyatta, and his running mate is William Ruto. I think there is also consensus that in 2022, when Uhuru retires, we in Jubilee will support the deputy president for presidency. That is all that I know.
As at this point?
These other things about who becomes William Ruto's running mate are, first of all, diversionary. Number two, they are premature. Number three, it is the prerogative of the presidential candidate to determine who their running mate is.
Yeah.
That's all what I can say.
Are you aspiring?
For what?
To be running mate.
I am senator for Tharaka Nithi.
Well,
I'm Senate Majority Leader.
Yes.
For now, I am very satisfied with those roles, and I would want to do them as well as I can do them. As to what becomes of me in 2022, I think it's not fair that we start speculating now. It's too far.
Quite some time to
but
come.
Definitely I'm in Jubilee
for
a long time. And like what you were saying, there are some politicians jumping from this.
But Jubilee might be a vehicle up to 2017.
No.
Then it will break, which is a history.
No,
we are guided by history.
What
you're a scholar.
What I mean.
The trends show that after every election, there's a new alliance.
No.
Yes.
I think for this one, we will.
I will hold you to your word.
No problem. No problem.
But what do you say about the skeptics of this union who are saying this is a plot by Jubilee, TNA, to rope in URP? And after that, they've destroyed URP and whatnot. They are going to ditch William Ruto in 2022. That argument, I'm sure you've heard it in the public domain. Such speculation.
Two things. One,
yeah,
it's true, I've heard. But the first thing is, the people who are bringing that argument are people who are not known to be friends of William Ruto. That should tell you something. Number two, William Ruto.
It is his friends who are worried.
No.
Yes.
The people who are saying that
yes.
are people who are fighting William Ruto. So William Ruto has not complained. And the way I know him,
yeah,
if he had issues with that union or he thinks he's going to be shortchanged, he'll come out so fiercely, so strongly, and so well that it will leave no doubt where he stands. So William Ruto has not complained. And it should worry you that the people who are marketing that propaganda are people who are undermining the deputy president.
Let me put it this way.
He knows how to fight for himself.
How well are William Ruto's political or future political interests served by this merger? Explain.
Do you think he would entertain something like what happened if he had not calculated and taken into consideration his interests? He wouldn't. Yes. So what happened is the best.
How does it fit in his calculations, in your imagination? This merger, leaving his house.
You leave that to political analysts. You know, I used to be one, but now I no longer analyze. I do politics. But I can assure you, what happened is the best for William Ruto.
Yeah.
And I think he's a good politician. He's demystified. He's helped demystify even the deputy presidency. It used to be a position for people either who are too scared of saying anything,
yes,
or other fellows who are there and they are undermining the boss. You know, so he has crafted a new identity for the deputy presidency.
Yes,
he's happy in his skin. He knows his position, and he's confident that going forward he can fight for himself.
Yeah. If you look at the distribution, somebody asks here about the distribution of the positions within the two parties. It seems to be, perpetuating the same footprints of the current URP TNA. You have two officials representing a particular, and then two officials representing the other wing, TNA, URP basically, and one position, the others.
No, those are interim positions.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is this how things are going
part
forward?
of this build-up, the next 3 years, will be to try and take care of all those interests.
Yeah.
But again, what the viewer fails to capture is that actually we are trying to run away by creating gap from those kind of calculations, where somebody counts, this is URP, this is TNA. Those are Kenyans. They are members of Jubilee.
Yeah, in fact, let me read the question to you. It says, is JAP an upgraded KANU? The two interim representatives from northern Kenya are Fatuma Mohammed, who is the daughter of the former Chief of General Staff, General Mahmoud, and Abdul Haji, the son of the former PC, I guess Yusuf Haji, both strongmen in northern Kenya, and the sons and daughters of powerful people. The peasants are not represented. That is a disgruntled URP member from Mandera. He doesn't say his name.
I have not looked at the economic status of the new officials, but I have said those are interim positions, and we would want to, going forward in the long term, to have a strong party with an array of representation along all the diversity of Kenyans, including economic status. So it's not necessarily true that the people who were named as interim officials will remain for the long term.
Yeah. So there's hope.
A lot of hope.
Of reaching out to the others who are not
included in the
well, I have a lot of plaudits from your friends, saying you're a good man, you're an honest man, they want your contact, I'll pass this to you.
Yes, please.
But they might be your beacons in some parts of the country. Now, let's look at generally the Jubilee going forward as it is right now. Very serious uproar about how it's handling some issues. The year has started. Majority leader in the Senate We have had discussions here with the minority leader beginning of this year. But in terms of going forward, you have still persisted that you don't need dialogue. You are most pronounced on that matter of dialogue. Aren't you going to say, look, let's engage in the interest of building a harmonious country that you have talked about?
Okay, yeah, thank you. First and foremost, we have not been very clear on what our friends in CORD, and I'm deliberately calling them friends, mean by dialogue.
Tongue in cheek.
No.
Yes.
They are our friends. They are
friends don't behave like
you
this.
You saw that the other day when they had a funeral, you know, and you could see genuinely everybody is concerned. We are not enemies. So we don't know what they mean by the term dialogue. That has been part of the problem, because if dialogue means calling people for rallies in stadia and inciting Kenyans and using hate speech, then I don't think we are interested in that kind of thing. But if dialogue means a continuous culture of national conversation on national challenges, nobody, not in Jubilee, not in CORD, has any doubt that that is an important culture for our country. That's why you've had the president saying every time that, look, I am willing to listen and sit down with anybody who has ideas on how we can push forward our country and make it a better home for all of us. And I don't think anybody would oppose, really, let's say, Prime Minister Raila or Ole Kiapi or Karua, if they want to sit with the president and talk. And that's what we said in our PG last year. That should be facilitated and encouraged. Because, you know, these are our leaders, but they don't have access to formal structures.
Yes, exactly.
But we are saying the rest of us who are in formal institutions should not abdicate our leadership responsibilities. I am a parliamentarian. Nothing prevents me and the minority leader from sitting down and looking at things from the perspective of devolution and Senate and agreeing what can be done to make devolution work better and take those suggestions to the Senate.
And so the question then, which looks paradoxical from what you're saying, you speak very well about engagement and the need for that dialogue. But when you stand out there in the public platforms, you are the first one to say, to go exactly against what you've just said. Because, for example, when the president said to me, I have no problem in talking to anybody. The next day we don't want dialogue. They should use formal channels.
What
and you've just said now that those particular leaders,
David,
including Raila, Kiapi, and all the others who are not in formal structures,
is exactly the statement I issued immediately after that dialogue issue arose 2 weeks ago. I said, first, clarify what dialogue means. Because if it means what I have said, then for us we are not interested.
That is a
secondly, I said,
interpretation of the dialogue. Definitely, it serves your purposes.
Secondly, I said,
I seem to understand
Kenya,
from the English way.
We have institutions, we have parliament, we have ongoing engagement. Let us carry this engagement within the institutions.
Again, you have gone back to the institutional argument, right?
Precisely.
You've just abandoned the argument which you advanced a little while ago, that the president can reach out to this individual
for those people
and seek their opinions who have no forum.
For example, the Honorable Raila, the Honorable Kalonzo is not in Senate, he's not in National Assembly, and he's a Kenyan, he's a leader. He may have some ideas. What prevents them? We said it again and people misunderstood us. He just makes a call. I don't think Uhuru can refuse meeting any of them. If the whole idea is to add value.
What is it that makes it
national issues,
abhorrent, makes it really unacceptable to have a congregation of some kind of leaders?
You see, that's why I said,
that's
David,
the point. I need
we
to
don't understand dialogue because according to our friends, maybe dialogue means calling Kofi Annan and because they have been, we don't know,
no, it's not about talks. There's nothing
they have
about
been marketing,
just about,
they have been marketing a picture of a horrible Kenya where nothing works, nothing functions, and only some people from some country somewhere will save us. That's what they have been marketing. But if they are saying Kenyans to sit together and talk candidly.
I put it to you that that seems to appear to be the case because of lack of accommodation, that
Not
we can
really.
just meet without somebody coming to bring us together.
Ask you, David,
if you could just meet without anybody,
if the president himself has said, if the president has said, I am willing to talk to any Kenyan of any shade or from any walk of life, the opposition should put the president to task on his word. Why should Kithure Kindiki? How do I come in? I'm just a Kenyan, I'm just a senator. The president is a wise man, he's a leader. I cannot hold the president hostage. I cannot change his mind, you know. He has his own way of making decisions. So this talk about, I don't know, you know, the president has been misled. It's not a person waiting there for people to mislead him.
Every time there's a discussion around the dialogue,
it's an opinion.
The
opinion I have, David, I have my opinion.
Right.
First of all, as a Kenyan,
I
have my opinion. Secondly, as a leader, my friends could have a different opinion, and they're entitled to that. So let's not mix issues.
This is a new
The dialogue has refused to take place because of Kindiki or because of Duale, or because of any other person.
Of course, the perception is that every time the president wants to open channels to engage with everyone and the leaders on the opposing side, the president's sycophants or hardliners, which you title is almost being ascribed to you now, don't want that to happen, because you go against it, and so the president pulls back. People assume that behind the scenes, you're the ones responsible for that lack of that development.
You know, David, hardliner or sycophant is a derogative term which is given to somebody who believes in a certain cause.
Yes.
You know, when people are disappointed that you strongly believe in a certain cause, they come with things like sycophants.
They brand you.
They brand you, and the intention is to annoy you, so that you you abandon what you believe in. Yes. If the question is whether I support the Jubilee government or believe in its leadership and its policies, I do, and very strongly and very sincerely. Now, if by believing in Jubilee one becomes a sycophant, then
then you qualify.
I would then maybe consider, okay? Because you see, what you want me to do? You want me to go at the public podium and contradict the president?
No. In fact, you appear to contradict him when you say you're opposed.
Once in a while.
Let's say this. Let's say
once in a while.
Let's vacate that.
I may not even agree with the president.
Yes.
But the way I do it is not what our opponents want me to do, so that they don't call me a sycophant, because they want me to go and shout at the president and call him names. I don't do that. I mean, I'm in government. If I have an issue, I'll consult the president. Secondly, before you move out of there, David, the president is his own man. He's a leader. He is not some person there waiting to be told by some senator from Tharaka Nithi what to do. He's the president of Kenya. He knows who to talk to. What I should do is, once in a while, if he asks for my opinion, I'll give it. And I can assure you, I will do my best to give him the best opinion possible in his interest and in the interest of our country. Whether that opinion makes our opponents happy is a different thing. And I would be worried if they were happy anyway. I'll be very worried.
That opinion is not very public interest.
It's public interest.
Because we ought all to be happy. But let me say this, finally, because we have to come to the end of this conversation. Pursuant to that, looking back, isn't there anything regrettable that because of that sort of, I would use the word intransigence carefully there, but on both sides, because the Jubilee does not want to engage because, look, what dialogue? We have structures, and those are the ones which we communicate with you. The other guy said, no, those structures are not structured in a way that can allow informal engagement on matters because they are contentious. Hasn't anything been lost to the extent that now we have these major issues like referendum on our hands, we have conflict that's perpetual, rifts wrangling in the country that is obstructing movement forward. And shouldn't we be rethinking our positions this year?
David, I want to accept that perhaps we could have a better political environment to develop our country if there was more engagement. But this engagement is an engagement that is genuine, that is sincere, that is in the national interest. For us in Jubilee, we have been very consistent. The things I've said here are the things we said last year and the things we'll say next year. That yes, there are institutions, let's use them. And any person who is a leader and does not fall with those institutions can still consort, even informally. That is our position. I want to say the biggest fraud and dishonesty is coming from our friends in the opposition. With one corner, or from one corner of the mouth, they say, we want dialogue. We want to dialogue so that we can solve the issues around this country. What does the government do? When there's a funeral, they support the opposition leader, they give him moral support, all the support they can give him. But when a cabinet secretary who is sent to read a speech, which had been a eulogy, sent by the same president who has supported the leader of opposition, the cabinet secretary cannot even be allowed to read. We are not asking that
But that is not the official position. No. You know that.
It's not the official position, but it tells you. It tells you a lot.
Who hold their
it tells you, and that's not the only issue. There is malaria in the county, one of the counties in Kenya. The president and some international partners are taking 6 million nets. Right. Now, instead of receiving the nets,
no, you're not addressing the leadership.
And by the way,
because the leadership has not said anything anti-government in those respects. It is the ordinary
I've just given you two
yes,
but of the very many examples of doublespeak
are not from the leadership. Take note, they're not from the leadership, from the average people who have their own
interpretations. There was a funeral in Muranga the other day of the late J.J. Kamotho,
yes,
which was attended by all his former friends, including the leader of the opposition. Was anybody heckled? There is no connection between win and election and violence. Violence only degenerates the country. Because you can actually entertain somebody, listen to what they are saying, give them nice songs, but you will not vote for them.
Absolutely agree.
But this culture of intolerance and hatred and animosity is the one that is pulling back our country.
Would you say that culture is supported by the leadership?
It is supported. If the leadership wanted to eradicate that culture, it will not be there from Monday.
Okay. Thank you so much.
God bless. Thanks, David. God bless you. Happy New Year.
Professor Kindiki-Kithure, the Senate Majority Leader, and one of the promoters of the Jubilee Alliance Party that has been converted from the Conservative Party, which is expected to be the vehicle for the Jubilee Alliance going forward. We're looking at the mechanisms and the structures that have been set up. Thank you for coming, and continue watching Power Breakfast.